Never underestimate the power of silence, especially after rejection. You think she's moved on, right? You think it meant nothing to her when she turned you down? But what if I told you? The moment you vanished, without begging, without explaining, without chasing, something started shifting in her brain. Because it did. And what happens next will surprise you. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about games. This is about understanding what really happens in a woman's mind when a man disappears after being rejected. We're breaking down dark psychology, female attraction triggers, emotional shifts, and that moment she realizes, wait, did I just lose something valuable? If you've ever been rejected, this video is your blueprint to flipping the script without saying a single word. Let's get into what really goes on inside her head the moment you go silent. Never underestimate the power of silence, especially after rejection. You probably think it didn't matter when she turned you down, right? That she just moved on without thinking twice. But here's the truth. Most guys don't realize. When you disappear without a word, when you don't try to prove yourself or change your mind, something starts happening in her head. Something subtle, psychological, but powerful, and it flips the entire dynamic. What goes through her mind when you vanish after rejection? More than you think, and it starts immediately. At first, she feels like she made the right call. Maybe she even feels confident, like she dodged a situation she didn't want. Rejection often gives women a quick hit of power, because for a moment, they're in total control. They feel desired, validated, in charge. That's why so many guys stay stuck in a loop, chasing, explaining, trying harder, because they think that persistence will change her mind. But what actually works? Walking away, quietly. No bitterness, no drama, just disappearing. And that's when things start to shift. Not instantly, but it builds. Slowly. Emotionally. Psychologically. You see, she was expecting you to stay in orbit, to linger, to keep checking in, to be there in case she changed her mind. That's what most guys do. They hover. They don't realize that by staying available, they kill their own value. Because once she knows she can have you whenever she wants, there's no urgency, no curiosity, no mystery. But when you go silent, that uncertainty creeps in. That's where it begins. She checks her phone and sees no messages. She posts a story, and your name isn't in the viewers list. She refreshes, maybe out of habit, maybe out of boredom. Still nothing. You're not watching. You're not liking. You're not there. Now her brain starts to ask questions. Not because she regrets the rejection yet, but because the script didn't go how she thought it would. You're not following the pattern she expected. And when something breaks that pattern, the brain tries to figure it out. That's when she becomes curious. She might go back to your profile. She might even check who you're hanging with, what you're posting, what you've been up to. She won't show it. She'll act cool. But underneath, there's a spark of discomfort starting to grow. Because suddenly, the rejection doesn't feel like a decision. It feels like a question that hasn't been answered yet. And if you continue the silence, not with anger, not with passive aggression, but with calm, controlled distance, then something else starts to happen. That curiosity grows into anxiety, a quiet kind of panic. She starts wondering if you found someone else. She imagines you with another woman. Not because she wants you back yet, but because the idea that you just let go without trying, that's not what she expected. And it shakes her sense of control. That's the moment she starts thinking, did I misjudge him? Or was he actually more valuable than I thought? See, rejection isn't always final. Sometimes it's a test. Sometimes it's a defense mechanism. And sometimes it's just a moment of confusion. But your reaction after the rejection, that's what decides how she really feels about you in the long run. And if you disappear confidently, without trying to prove anything, you don't just vanish from her inbox, you take up space in her mind. That's when the shift begins, and she starts to feel it, quietly at first, but it gets louder. It usually starts as just a passing thought. I wonder what he's up to. But when you stay silent, that thought turns into a whisper that doesn't go away. She doesn't hear from you. She doesn't see you. No reaction, no comment, no emoji, nothing. And what that does is interrupt the usual pattern she's used to. Because most women are conditioned to expect a man to chase a little after rejection. Not because they want to hurt you, but because they're used to being the ones who decide when something is really over. So when you take that power away, by simply vanishing, her mind has no choice but to start filling in the blanks. Now she begins watching your stories just to see if you're watching hers. She opens your profile just to see if you're active. Maybe she even types your name in the search bar. Something she didn't expect to do. And you know what makes it worse. For her, the fact that she doesn't understand why it's bothering her, that's what eats at her the most. She rejected you. She thought she was sure. So why is she suddenly wondering about you? Why is she checking your activity like someone with something to lose? It's because her ego didn't expect to take a hit. Most rejections come with a backup plan. Even if she says no to you, she still expects your energy to stick around. But when you pull back, without warning, her subconscious starts to realize something important. She's not as in control as she thought. That feeling creates emotional friction. It's not love yet. It's not regret yet. But it's definitely discomfort. And discomfort is a powerful motivator, especially for the mind. She may even start comparing you to other guys she's talking to. Guys who are giving her attention. Who are available, but who don't create that same emotional tension. Because the truth is, it's not always about how much attention you give. It's about how much impact your absence leaves behind. You have to understand, women notice patterns. They notice energy. When a guy who's been consistent suddenly pulls back without explanation, it creates a mental vacuum. She starts playing back everything that happened. Every conversation, every compliment, every smile. She wonders if she missed something. If maybe, deep down, you were someone worth keeping around. And the more she replays it, the more space you take up in her thoughts. It's not obsession yet, but it's getting there. Then something interesting happens. She might start posting more, trying to get your attention without directly reaching out. A cute selfie, a thirst trap, a caption meant to provoke curiosity. She might even post an old song that connects to something you once talked about. And if you still don't react, that's when the insecurity sets in. Because now she's no longer wondering if you liked her. Now she's wondering if you ever did. And that feeling, that's the one that haunts her. That's the one that gets under her skin. When you go silent after rejection, you don't just remove yourself physically, you challenge the story she told herself about how much power she had. And when that narrative starts to fall apart, she's left in a space of mental confusion and emotional tension that builds over time. That's when she starts feeling the loss. Not because of what happened, but because of what could have happened and what she may have thrown away too quickly. By this point, she's already gone from curiosity to low-level anxiety. She might not admit it to anyone, not even to herself, but that little voice in her head is louder now. The silence you gave her isn't just quiet, it's heavy. She checks her phone, hoping to see your name pop up, but nothing. She opens her DMs and scrolls up through your old conversations, maybe even rereads something you said. Not because she misses you, at least that's what she tells herself, but because she's looking for a clue, a reason, a way to understand how the guy she rejected just vanished like she never mattered. Now here's the part most guys don't see. When you disappear confidently after being rejected, you're not just preserving your self-respect. You're forcing her to reevaluate her choice. You're no longer the guy who got turned down. You become the guy she might have underestimated. And that messes with her ego, especially if she starts seeing you glow up. You're active, you're working on yourself, you're maybe even leveling up socially. You're not hiding in the shadows. You're just not looking at her. That's what drives her crazy. The fact that you're clearly moving forward, but not toward her. That's when she starts asking herself, what did I miss? Maybe you weren't just another guy chasing her. Maybe you were rare. Maybe you had more value than she saw at first glance. The distance forces her to reconstruct the version of you she had in her head. Because if you were just average, just another guy hoping to win her over, then why does your absence feel so personal? Why does she care that you're not watching her anymore? And this is where it really begins to flip. See, a woman can reject a man and still expect him to keep proving his worth. That's the default pattern. But when you break that pattern, when you stop playing the game entirely, you stop being predictable. And unpredictability triggers emotional tension. She starts becoming hyper-aware of your presence or lack of it. Every story she posts, she wonders if you'll see it. Every time she hears a song that reminds her of your vibe, you pop into her head. And if you're still nowhere to be found, that's when she starts to spiral just a little. It's no longer about you being rejected. It's about her feeling rejected now. Because emotionally, the energy has shifted. You didn't beg. You didn't chase. You didn't throw words at a closed door. You just left. With your dignity. With your self-worth. And the thing is, women don't expect that from men they reject. They expect weakness. They expect confusion. But when you give her clarity through silence, it creates an emotional contrast she can't ignore. You didn't just disappear. You flipped the power dynamic without saying a single word. And that's why she can't let it go. That's why your name keeps floating to the surface, even when she tries to push it down. Because deep down, her rejection no longer feels like something she gave you. It starts to feel like something she might regret. Especially when she sees that you didn't fold, didn't chase, didn't make her the center of your world. That's the exact moment her attraction starts to rebuild, piece by piece, all on its own. Eventually, her mind hits a point where it can't just casually wonder about you anymore. It becomes a loop of unanswered questions, what ifs, and mental rewrites of how things went down. She might start asking her friends about you under the radar. Hey, you still follow that guy? What's he been up to? She might even make fake accounts to check your stories just to see if you're still around. And all of this is happening behind the scenes while she's pretending to be unbothered. That's the wild part. Outwardly, she looks calm. She's posting selfies, showing confidence, maybe even flirting with new guys. But on the inside, your silence has planted a seed of uncertainty. Not just about you, but about herself. She starts to question her decision. Was it the right call to reject you? Was she just scared of something deeper? Did she misread your value because she was too focused on control or validation? And now, every little thing you do or don't do feels significant to her. You haven't said anything, but your silence is speaking. You haven't shown up, but somehow, you're everywhere. That's the power of being the man who walks away with confidence. You become a ghost that lives in her thoughts, not haunting her, but forcing her to see something she didn't notice when she had your attention. You had more value than she realized. Now here's where it can really shift. If she has even a hint of pride, she won't reach out directly, not at first. She'll test the waters. Maybe she reacts to an old story. Maybe she sends a meme or a message pretending it's casual. But if you don't jump at it, if you keep your frame solid and don't fall back into old patterns, that's when it hits her. She doesn't just miss your presence. She misses the way you made her feel. Because attention is everywhere. But presence with masculine control, with silence that holds weight, that's rare. And women don't forget rare. Most men don't understand that silence after rejection isn't weakness. It's strength in disguise. It's not about giving up. It's about repositioning yourself in her psychology. When you stick around too long after rejection, you become familiar, predictable, easy to categorize. But when you disappear, especially when she expected you to keep chasing, you create mystery. And mystery creates emotional gravity. She starts to feel the pull, not because you're doing anything, but because you're not. You're not validating. You're not available. You're not orbiting her anymore. And suddenly, the absence becomes louder than any words you could have said. she's watching. She's observing everything. She wants to know if there's another woman in the picture. She wants to know if you're living better without her. And the truth is, that's exactly what you should be doing. Because the goal isn't to manipulate her into missing you. The goal is to become the kind of man whose absence is felt, whose energy is missed, whose value increases the more he focuses on himself. And when you live like that, when you actually elevate after rejection instead of chasing, it naturally rewrites how she sees you. She starts thinking, what if I gave up too early? What if he was actually the one who could have handled me? Because now you've shown her you're not emotionally dependent. You're not trying to fix things. You're not clinging. You're just gone and thriving. And women feel that shift. They respect that shift. Even if they don't admit it out loud, they replay it in their minds because it challenges what they thought they knew about you. And more importantly, it challenges what they thought about themselves. There's a moment where her thoughts shift from, why hasn't he messaged me, to why would he? That's the turning point. That's when her ego shrinks and her reflection grows. That's when she starts considering reaching out, not from a place of superiority, but from vulnerability. Because now, she's not sure you'll even respond. That power reversal is subtle, but strong. And it all started with you doing the one thing most men don't have the patience to do. Walk away and say nothing. And if she never reaches out, if she never acts on it, that's fine. Because the silence wasn't about her. It was about you. It was about showing yourself that your worth isn't up for debate. That you don't have to beg, chase, or convince anyone. You just have to know when to step back and let your absence do the talking. Because the most powerful message a man can send after being rejected is the one he doesn't send at all. The message that says, I know who I am, and if you don't see it, that's your loss, not mine. So the next time a woman rejects you and expects you to stay around, do something different. Go silent. Not out of spite, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. Out of awareness that you're not meant to convince someone who isn't sure. And trust me, the moment you disappear with dignity, you start showing up in places she can't control. Her thoughts, her doubts, her regrets. That's where real power is. That's what makes her remember you. Not as the guy she rejected, but as the man she might have lost. Watch the next video.